Okay, I think I was muted. Hello, Africa. How are you doing? It is exciting to be back with you. My name is Sebastian Ssegawa Ivan Sebastian, and I am your humble host of the Africa Youth Pulse Check-in. It's been a minute since we caught up. I am excited to be back here with you and to check on what has been happening where you are and whether you have something to share with me. I also have, I think, quite the amount of things I want to share with you today, and I hope that you are excited to hear from me as much as I am excited to hear from you. Anyway, fast forward, you know the rules that when you are there and you are on the Pulse check-in, just go to the comment section of whichever platform you are watching us from. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have YouTube. Just go to the comment section, type out something, and I'll be able to see it. I'll be able to respond. But most importantly, I'm interested to know where you are tuning in from and what is happening where you are. That will give me so much joy to learn. Away from that, I do have a couple of things to share with you today. We also are expecting a guest to join us from the Youth Model African Union that will be happening in Abuja, Nigeria. And then I have tea about the ULEAD Summit. I have tea about the Afro-Europe Forum. I have tea about a virtual town hall that we are having with Southern African Youth Forum. So stay tuned. I will have quite a lot to share with you today. But before I do that, I see our guest has joined. I am just going to request him to introduce himself quickly. Augustine, I don't know whether you are able to hear me. I see that your network bar is so far, but sure, if you are, kindly do let me know. Great. I see you're trying to connect video. Okay, so we shall get to Augustine when we have him ready to introduce himself. Augustine, if you are, just signal me. But for now, I do have something interesting to share with you. I don't know whether you guys remember that sometime this year we set out to do something as a family of ULEAD, as a One Young Africa, and that was standing in solidarity with Kenya. And from that, we had set out to do a couple of things, and one of the things that we had set out to do, away from the solidarity messages that you guys shared to ensure that the Republic of Kenya has a peaceful election and transition of power, I want to report that we were successful on that end. Of course, the efforts were not just us, there were very many other stakeholders towards the Kenyan election, but we are excited to have been part of that journey. And I will be sharing, probably at the end of the day, I will share a song that was made in commemoration or in mobilizing young people towards a peaceful interaction and being peaceful players in the electoral process that happened in Kenya. Away from that, I see you, Bill. You say hello, Bill. I would like to know where you are tuning in from and what you are doing right now. But for now, I just want to welcome our guest of the day. Augustine, maybe if you could have just a quick introductions, what you are, and then we can move on.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Oh, okay. Good morning, Sebastian. Good morning, everyone. My name is Igweshi Augustine. I am from Nigeria, and I live in the capital city of Nigeria, Abuja. So I currently serve as the Executive Director of Center for Peace Advocacy and Sustainable Development. Also, I am the convener of Youth Model African Union. I think that's for now. Maybe as we proceed, get to know more about me.
Okay, so like I shared, thank you so much, Augustine, and we are very happy to have you in the Youth Pulse check-in. And like I told you, this is a chilled space where we interact with Africa's youth on the whole continent to try and understand what is happening where you are. And I need to say that usually in our introduction, like you have mentioned that you're in Abuja, Nigeria, we would like to know what is happening there. What is hot in Abuja today or for this week? What has been the conversation on the streets? Okay, unfortunately, we have lost Augustine. Hopefully, we shall get him back in a bit, and because we need to also explore the great work that he is doing with.
Sorry, I lost connections at a point where you were just saying what is happening in Abuja, and I lost
Yes,
connection.
yes, yes. No, I was saying that usually at the pulse check-in, our introductions follow. That you also tell us what is happening where you are, so that as a community we get to know what is happening across where we are not.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. So here in Abuja is actually a cool weather. We are in the rainy season in Nigeria. So over the past days, rain has been falling and all of that. So, but as you know, Nigeria will be having her general elections in 2023, and the campaign is actually kicking off tomorrow, being 28th of September. So Abuja is, which is the capital, is intense with political activities. Major political parties are convening in Abuja for kick off the campaign tomorrow. So being is 28th of September. So the atmosphere is political at the moment. So every street you go, you people will be discussing about the politics, how the campaign is going to go, and who they will be voting for, who they will be supporting throughout the campaign, and all of that. So, like I said, the Abuja, Nigeria, is politically inclined now because it's election period. We're heading towards the election period, and we will enter into the campaign tomorrow, which will see major political parties, all the 18 political parties in Nigeria, kick off their campaign for presidential elections, parliament elections like the Senate and the House of Representatives, governorship elections, and the House of Assembly elections. So here, people are talking about politics, who they will support throughout the campaign, and a lot of statistics are showing up on who is going to emerge winner, and who the people are supporting, group are supporting different individual. People are saying different things about different candidates.
I'm now curious to know who you are supporting, but I will ask that as we close this session. But for now, I would prefer that we
Sure.
dive deeper into understanding the great work that you are doing across the continent. And I want to first start by saying this particular segment of the Youth Pulse Check-in is under a series of the Africa Civic Tech fund that we are undertaking as You Lead Africa. And we are trying to make sure that we amplify youth voices that are participating in governance across the continent. And that is why we sought you out and the work that you are doing with the Youth Model African Union. So I just want to quickly ask, how do you get the idea of saying you need to model the AU? What inspired you to jump onto that idea?
Okay, thank you very much for Sebastian. What inspired me was to see Africa develop, and to see African youth learn more about African Union. But before then, I would like to share that I used to organize a Model United Nation, and I see so many people participating in different Model United Nations across the world, but nothing has been said about African Union. I begin to wonder if African Union is still there, but because I know it's a continental organ which our people need to know about. So I have to run a survey to understand how the young people know about African Union. But it was quite not impressive that many African youth do not understand how African Union works. They do not understand the operational and system of how African Union works and how they can contribute in championing and driving the African Union agenda and its flagship programs.
Mhm.
So after due consultation and carrying out this, I get to, say it is time to bring African Union to the people, because it's actually closer to them than the United Nations. Although the African Union agenda and the Sustainable Development Goal has similarity, they also align. So we started looking at how we can bring this event to the people. So in 2020, during the COVID, we started planning towards organizing it. But we said if people want to learn about Model African Union, it has to be physical. They have to have physical engagement. So, and COVID could not allow us to hold it in 2020. So we started holding it in 2021. That was when we had the first edition. So, but before then, we have to carry out a kind of research, reach out to people, get the concept, get the whole objective, and how everything is going to run. And we eventually started in 2021, where we had the first edition. But that first edition, the name was actually Abuja Model African Union. So we were using Abuja Model African Union. So we were able to kick off with the plan. But whenever we reach out to both African Union to get to know our event, no response. But we were not discouraged. We were not discouraged because we were not getting the response we need from both the African Union and its various organs and institutions. And the other organization we reach out to, some say it's a good idea, it's something that needs to be done. Some said all those things, the bureaucracies and everything. So, but we were not discouraged. We know what we wanted. We want to see how African youth can learn about African Union and promote the goal of the African Union, as well as build their leadership and diplomatic skills. So the whole idea was to ensure that African youth get to understand the governance structure, how African Union work, its flagship program, and how they can contribute to champion this program, because the African Union makes the policy and pass it to member states, but some member states they do not have the political way to implement some of these policies and programs of the African Union, except if a civil society like ours begin to push the government and they begin to advocate for implementations of those programs. So we aim to strengthen the capacity of young people to push for the implementations of those policies and programs of the African Union. So while we're doing that, we had the first edition last year, as I've said, which brought about youth from different member states. Although we have youth from different African countries participating physically, and the people joining online as well, because it was hybrid. So some persons who could not afford the cost of transporting themselves to Abuja joined online. Neighboring countries like Cameroon, Ghana, those guys, they joined physically because I think some took a long. Yeah, yes, because of the proximity. Guys like the Southern Africa, the Northern Africa, they have to join online, and Eastern African as well. So that is it. We have a huge number of people who joined, and since then, the young people who participated in that event, and we simulated the African Union and defined to them, and they have understood what the African Union is about. They understand how African Union works, and they are now contributing to its flagship program of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the African Union Aspiration, the African Union, the Continental Framework on Youth Peace and Security. And they're not advocating for for the implementation of each the flagship programs of the African Union, some of the policies of the African Union. Recently, I was part of the digital transformation, the digital strategy, the African Union Digital Transformation Strategy 2020 to 2030. Last week we had a program on that with a Global Africa Leadership Council, where we see how we can begin to see there is a digital drive for the implementation of the African Union Digital Transformation Strategy for 2020 to 2030. Over time, young people are beginning to show interest in contributing to the various African Union agenda and its aspiration in various flagship program at a country level. So holding this year edition, we have seen an impressive interest in being part of this year edition. We open application, we had up to 500 registrations, and up to now we're getting to 1,000 registrations. People are showing interest. Everybody has said they want to attend. But we hope that they will all be here in Abuja, Nigeria. We are looking at hosting 200 delegates from the 55 member states of the African Union. We will be simulating the about 3 organs of the African Union and its various committee, and as well as which intend to, will make this year edition more robust and strengthen the capacity of it. And most especially this year, we don't want it to be after attending the summit, then we go home. We are creating or inaugurating a platform where they will continue to engage. After the summit, they will continue to engage, just as we are engaging here right now. So there will be a platform for them to continue to engage after they leave, and also it help them connect with fellow youth across member states, and they share the work they do and see how they can support each other to drive the African Union agenda. So
all right. Augustine, I want to interject and then ask another question. But before I do, I just want to encourage everyone online. Please tell me where you are and what is happening where you are, where you're tuning in from specifically. And I see Bill says he's from DRC, and he's volunteering as a community manager at Jericho Hope and Peace ONG, which means that Bill is at work. Thank you so much, Bill, for sparing time to join the check-in while you are at work. I see Alexis Kavambi says he's also from DRC. Teresa Mosange is also from DRC. Okay, DRC is taking over the Pulse check-in today. Do share. Fiona is following us from YouTube. Fiona is also our very own in-house here at Lead Africa Secretariat, and she says, hello, Kemi from Uganda. This Model AU initiative sounds amazing. Love to see young people involved in governance conversations. Thank you, Kemi. And of course, Danny Brown. I need to say that Daniel here is a regular at the Youth Pulse check-in. He also supported as the manager of our Kenya Amani conversation when we were seeking for peace in the electoral process of Kenya. And now, Daniel, if you've heard, Nigeria is at the peak of its electoral process. Clearly, we should turn our efforts towards ensuring that young people in Nigeria get involved in their civic duty, but also they participate peacefully. And he says that he's at the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro and is locked in. You're most welcome, Daniel. Back to you, Augustine. You have shared the journey, and you have said that you have had a couple of challenges, mostly around partnerships and creating some level of input or association with the African Union. And I agree with you that the AU as a body that guides the direction of governance and of association of all its member states across the continent, it needs, for its programs to be successful, it needs young people to have ownership of those programs. And there is no better way of young people getting such ownership than young people being involved and knowing how these decisions are made, how these decisions are intended to be implemented, but most importantly, whether the decisions are made. So when you say that you are trying to push for young people to understand what flagship programs the African Union is having. I think that is critical. And first of all, I want to thank you, like almost everyone on the chat here is agreeing with you. What I want to ask you now, and I ask this understanding that you have tried to make contact with the African Union as as a secretariat, and you have not had so much reaction. But what about the AU Youth Envoy? How have you worked around incorporating the AU Youth Envoy? And if not, what do you think can be done better around that?
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, we have sent several emails to the AU Youth Envoy. Even last year, when we started, we had the first edition. We sent multiples of emails to AU Youth Envoy, IU Archie, but no response as well. So we sent a couple of emails, no response. So we will not discourage anyway, because we know we want to contribute to African development. So we have to inspire other young Africans. So
I agree. I agree.
we continue. Yeah. So this year again, we have actually messaged the Chida. Yet she's not yet to respond. We have sent her several emails. Yesterday, I was going through my email to see responses. I came across the email I sent her 2 months ago that she has not responded to. So, but nevertheless, we are in contact with I don't know if you know Janice. Janice works with the Youth Engagement Office of the African Union. So I came in contact with Janice on LinkedIn. So I shared her the Model African Union. I think she got impressed with it and said we are going to get in touch. So she sent me her email. So I emailed her. We get talking. So she went on leave. She now connected me to Precious that works with her department as well. So we had a call on that. So I shared the detail of what we want to do and all of that. And she said she now connected me to Alex K. Yes, now connected me to Alex. So I had a call with Alex about the program, the Model African Union. So Alex works with I think the education unit of the African Union. So we are in talk with Alex. So yeah, I got the response yesterday from Alex that he said he has been overwhelmed with activities, and
Well,
maybe I
I guess
should be
what I
expecting
now what I gather now is at least you have your foot into the African Union, which is a good start. I mean, you are 2-3 years into the initiative, and I think now that you have gotten the attention of the AU, that's a good start, and that's a good thing, at least for the program. I want to ask, and you have mentioned that the Model African Union happening this year is coming up in November. I just want to know for the young people across Africa, how do they join? How do they apply to be part of this good initiative?
Okay, thank you very much. We have a registration portal. I could share the website where they can register, but unfortunately, due to the fact that we don't have it has to be self-sponsored. Some of the back load in terms of participating, the cost of them bringing themselves to Abuja is one of the challenges we face. So, but the portal is open for registration. Like I said, we have over 500 registrations so far, and we are interacting with them. So many show interest to participate, but one of the challenges is getting themselves to Abuja because it's self-sponsored.
Okay. So for those of you out there, kindly share the website so that I can share it on chat for everyone to be able to have access to the portal. But if you want to join the Model African Union, the Youth Model African Union this year that is happening in Abuja, Nigeria, you are able to self-sponsor yourself, you are welcome to apply and then get selected, and you head your way to Abuja, Nigeria, and find out how the AU sittings happen, what flagship programs the AU has, and how you as a young African can ably plug into that. I want now to drive away from this conversation a little bit, just to talk about what is happening back home here in ULIT. And first, I want to ask everyone on here whether you are ready for the ULIT Summit. You know that the ULIT Summit 2022 is this year set and secure. Dates have been locked in, location has been communicated. We are going back to the seat of the East African community, Arusha. And you know what has been said about Arusha over time? Very many people say it's the Geneva of Africa. It's what Geneva is to Europe is what Arusha is to Africa, definitely because of its history, its strategic location, and how many things have happened in Arusha. And of course, Daniel will also tell you that because they have Kilimanjaro, clearly it cannot go any wrong. But the ULIT Summit is happening, and very soon we are also going to be launching the portal for application to be part of ULIT, of the ULIT Summit this year, 2022. And among the very many things that happen there, you guys know that we have the Under 40 Political Leaders Forum, we have the Under 40 Business Leaders Forum, we have the Gender Equality Forum, we have the Tubonge, where we have a peace and security conversation to see how young people have plugged into the youth peace and security component across the continent. And I want to mention the second year that we are going into the conversation when we are continental. So you want to be part of it. I also want to say that it is during this summit that we shall be recording the official video of the Electro Peace song. So wherever you are across the continent, you want to be part of the summit so that you can appear and have a contribution towards this peace song that we have made. The song was inspired by the electoral process that was happening in Kenya, but we are making sure that this song is used as a medium to communicate and rally young people across the continent every time we have a political process that is being undertaken. Away from that, the quick wins that we are having, and this is something I think I should be now quizzing people. Mostly, all of us that are online now, because I know that you are following from our social media pages, is fast. Do you know about the Afro-Euro Youth Trade and Economic Forum that is happening tomorrow? If you don't, then rush immediately to ULIT socials and then find the link. We are having the first of its kind, an Africa-Europe youth trade conversation that is going to be convened tomorrow by one of our flagship programs, the Independent Continental Youth Advisory Council, the ICOYACA, together with the business wing of the youth in business side of ULIT Africa. So if you have not yet registered for that, rush, register for it. It is happening tomorrow. And let me just confirm the time it is happening. Yes, it is happening tomorrow at exactly 11 a.m. East African Standard Time. And of course, if you change it to the time you are in, that will be 8 a.m. GMT, 10 a.m. CAT, and 9 a.m. WAT. I'm saying all these time zones because we are going to be having people from different time zones. We're going to be having people from Africa, and then young people in business from Europe. So if that is your niche, you are a young person in business in the continent, come so that we have shared experiences tomorrow and we see what we can pick from each other. We see what opportunities lie beyond our continent and whether we can tap into them or whether there are opportunities the other side that we want to invite and do business with. The second thing I want to spotlight is, and I already mentioned that we are already in the phase of amplifying youth voices in continental governance conversations. And this Friday, under that same theme, we are joining up with our friends and comrades and collaborating partners in Southern Africa, the Southern Africa Youth Forum, SIOF, and we are hosting a virtual town hall to explore governance in Southern Africa in the fourth industrial revolution. We are having very many speakers from Southern Africa that are coming up, but that does not mean that the conversation is limited to Southern Africa. So if you are interested into governance conversations, youth governance conversations on the continent, You also want to jump onto the ULEAD socials, scroll through, and then you will find our Continental Virtual Town Hall. It is happening this Friday, 30th September, exactly 1200 midday CAT. That is Southern African time. 1200 cut. Do go to that link and then also be able to apply to be part of that conversation. It is also going to be virtual, and some of the speakers that we have already confirmed are Mr. Phil Daka, the Chief Executive Officer of the Zambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have Mrs. Magoro. I don't want to pronounce the other song because I do not have that clicking sound of Southern Africa, but she is the founder of Zuri Foundation. And then we also have Mr. Bafana Shabalala, who is the COO of Godisang Youth Empowering Foundation, among other speakers. So do register for that too, so that you can be part of that conversation. And now back to you, Augustine, as we now conclude our conversation here. I would like to know, you as a person and as the curator of this great conversation of the Youth Model African Union. And I first of all want to say that I didn't mention this earlier, but the fact that you started with curating the United Nations model, only for you to realize that there was a gap on the continent that we needed to service immediately, and then you jumped onto it, is something that we need to celebrate as young people. It is also a testament of great patriotism for this continent. And you have also shared some of the quick wins and some of the frustrations that you have had, and we've already spotlighted those in terms of associating with the bodies that are relevant. But I want to know now the future. Where do you see the program going in the future? And this is within partnerships, and then also mostly with connecting to probably the ULEAD Summit that again works across the continent. What is your vision for the program going forward?
Okay, thank you. For the program is to see the Youth Model African Union become the continental platform for young people to engage, to learn and promote the goal of the African Union, as well as build their diplomatic and leadership skill and contribute to governance structure and governance development in Africa. So I want to see the Model African Union become the largest continental event in Africa by 2025. So by 2025, I want to see it to be the largest continental event in Africa, as well as seeing the summit hosting in different African Union member states, not just in Abuja, because we tend to, be spread every year. We take it to a different member state. So I want to see it go around the 55 member states of the African Union. So we intend to host it across 55 member states of African Union. So I want to see it as a platform where young people, develop and contribute to African development as well. The African Union and the African model, the Youth Model African Union, is what there's going to be anyway, I will get involved on that, which I would want you to be particularly involved, because we want to see how this continue, how we want to see how the engagement can continue. So the engagement will continue with a platform which will be inaugurated on our this year edition. So maybe after the call, I will let you know about that more. So like I said before, I want it to be the largest youth event in Africa, and they also see young people coming to, drive the agenda of the African Union through this program as well.
Very well then. We wish you here at ULEAD Godspeed, and you have mentioned that in 5 years, in 2025, I mean, you hope to see that this is going to be something that is continental and all over. And we pray that indeed we achieve that goal. We shall be following the conversation. We shall keep hosting you on our different programs. And I see Kemi is already fired up, saying she is ready to be part of this great conversation. For those of you following, I have already shared the write-up that Augustine shared with me. I have shared a link to the website where you can find the portal of application. I have also shared a small note that has been written by Augustine himself about the Model African Union. So you can be part of the conversation by going to that channel and ensuring that you apply. And it doesn't. If you don't have the resources, Augustine has said. Augustine, let me just confirm: is it still going to be hybrid? Will you have an online component for those that will not be able to travel?
Yes, it's going to be hybrid, and we welcome everyone to participate. If you're unable to get sponsorship to come, you can join online. But before I forget, I would want to say that it's a pleasure connecting, and I look forward to hosting more of Youth Model African Union with ULEAD and all of that. Yes, we tend to have ULEAD as our major.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Augustine. It is exciting to have us, and thank you for making the time to be with us. We wish you Godspeed in the preparations you will be having, and wherever we can as ULEAD Africa, we shall be able to spotlight the Model African Union and able to also mobilize young people across the continent, specifically those within our networks, to be part of this great initiative. But before you go, and this is bringing us to the end of our check-in today, we do have a discipline here where, where we have our guests say goodbye in a local language, their local language. So I would like for you to say goodbye in, I don't know what language you speak, Yoruba?
Igbo.
Igbo, okay, okay. So we want to hear you. You don't necessarily have to say goodbye. You just leave us with a message that you will translate so that we know exactly what you said, but also to appreciate the diversity that we have on the continent.
No problem. But before then, I look forward to joining you guys on the Lead Summit 2022. I look forward to that as well.
Daniel here is saying he can't keep calm. No one is going to keep calm. As soon as that portal drops, goes live, that people are applying, we shall be able to also ensure that people know as much as they should about what is going to happen during the summit. This summit is going is going to be bigger and better. It is happening in December, and we shall most definitely, we will be happy to have you join the summit. But for now, I'll hear from you with the last words.
Many of you may not understand, but Chukwu gozie o, Chukwu gozie tie gị nke ọma, so that Chukwu gozie all of you in Jesus' name.
How do you say thank you?
Thank you. Oh,
Imela.
Thank you is Imela.
Imela. Hi. And I keep telling people here that I know my African languages. They don't believe me. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Imela, Augustine, for joining us today. And I will now let you go. For those of you that have been following, unfortunately, my technology has not enabled me to share my screen to play the song, but I don't know. Augustine, are you able to hear the song play?
Yes, I can hear it.
All right. So I'll just let the song play in the background. So that's part of the song. I promise when we have our next check-in, which is most definitely going to be this week, I will have sorted out my technology. I'll be able to share the song. But like I said, we are shooting its official video in the ULEAD Summit 2022. You want to be part of it. That said, thank you so much. Oh, did I mention I am in Kampala? Kampala is warm this morning. Okay, that is not consistent with my dress code. I'm having a jacket on, but Kampala is warm this morning, and very calm. And a lot has been happening. I just want to leave by just leaving you guys food for thought, and the food for thought was around what has been happening across the continent and across the world. When in times where we did not meet, you guys know that we lost, I think, the longest reigning monarch that we have known in our lifetime. Queen Elizabeth died. God rest her soul. And we had so many messages of condolences that were coming from the Commonwealth going to her. We also had very many Commonwealth leaders go and celebrate her life and also be part of her burial. We also had, and this was specific to the EFF in South Africa, that called out Queen Elizabeth and said that probably her life should not be celebrated because of her contribution or her role or the monarch's role in the colonial process and the imperialism that was suffered by the African continent. So there were two schools of thought. I don't know what your school of thought is about that. The second thing that happened is anger, the United Nations General Assembly. And we do remember that then President of Libya, President Muammar Gaddafi, went to the UN. I think it was 2011, yes. And he spoke for a record 1.5 hours, where his speech ended up with him tearing the UN Charter and calling out the UN and telling them that if they do not reform the Security Council, the UN Security Council, then African countries should pull out. We also saw, yeah, Daniel has corrected me, it was 2009. We also saw that a couple of years later, during the African Union General Assembly, which had, I think, the Secretary General of the UN, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, attend. Still, then President of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Robert Mugabe, spoke truth to power. He told him that the UN was supposed to be equal and accommodative of both its members that give it purpose and also its members that give it, in his words, money. Also calling for the reform of the United Nations Security Council. And this year, 2022, we had another African head of state go to the UN and speak to them and tell them that Africa is considering pulling out of the United Nations if the Security Council membership is not revised. What are your thoughts about these conversations? Do you think that 3 times now, that the third time is the charm, and that the UN Security Council is going to revise its position on who the permanent members are, to have some African countries come on board, as opposed to the situation now where the only quote unquote superpowers are the permanent members of the AU? Another thing that happened is the East African oil Oh, apologies. I did have a little glitch on my side, but I was talking about the East African oil pipeline project. You guys know that it's intended to be one of the longest heated pipeline project in the world, and it had a lot of backlash from the EU Parliament, but we have had different thoughts and different opinions around that from different African leaders, African legislators, even even African people, specifically those in East Africa. When we come back on Friday, we hope that this is something that that I will pick your mind on, mostly for comrades that are in East Africa, specifically those in Uganda and Tanzania, which is where the project is being undertaken, to catch your opinions on that project. That said, thank you so much for being part of this morning's African Youth Pulse check-in. I'm bringing back Augustine to just say again, thank you so much for joining in, and I hope to have you again on the African Youth Pulse check-in. For those of you that joined my Youth Pulse check-in family, thank you, and thank you so much. Until next time being this Friday,